My name is Kenneth R. Haines, and I'm 86 years old, and I was born in Greene County, Ohio, at a city called Xenia. I don't know why I was selected as a tail gunner, other than my size maybe had something to do with it, because it was a small turret. You couldn't hardly get a big old 6 foot, 200-pound guy into that turret very easily. So that might have had something to do with my size as why I was selected as a tail gunner. Because all of the gunners went through the same training. Just, I think they selected more on size. Now the radio operators, they had special training to operate the radio. The armament guy, he went to armament school. So they were pre-trained when we came together as a crew. They'd already went through. See, I went through at Tyndall Field just shooting the guns. They went through radio school. They went through armament school and engineering school, and ended up as gunners on our plane. So they had more training as crew members. The lead up to flying a mission, you were posted the night before what group of crews were going, and then you were assigned an airplane. So you knew what airplane you had the next morning, and so you were assembled at a given time, and given the pilots and the navigators were given the route and their information. The armament guys were told what bombs we were carrying. We might be carrying incendiary bombs, we might be carrying all-purpose bombs, or we could even be carrying propaganda bombs that just had leaflets in them. So they were given all that information, but you weren't given a target destination until after even the pilot wasn't given it. He was given takeoff time and stuff like that, but you weren't given a target until you were actually in the air and formed up. Then the group was given their target destination, because you only had one way to go from Italy. You only had to do is go north. So we'd form up and head north, and then they'd get our target. So you actually didn't know where you was going, but Axis Sal knew. We would sit there and see, our missions would last maybe up to 10 hours, 8 to 10 hours. So going up to the target, when we got everything settled down, the pilot would or the radio operator, he would plug us into Axis Sal, and we'd sit there and listen to the news and music, and she'd tell us where we was going a lot of times before we even knew ourselves where we were going. And she also would tell us when airplanes got shot down who was in them before we even got back to the base to find out who was in them. How they were able to get that intelligence together and put it on the radio, I don't know. But many times when we'd see a plane go down, before we landed, we knew who was in that airplane. It would be like Captain so-and-so and his crew, or Colonel so-and-so.
This is Berlin calling. Berlin calling the American mothers, wives, and sweethearts. And I'd just like to say, girls, that when Berlin calls, it pays to listen. When Berlin calls...
Oh, Axis Sal is a radio station out of Germany. She was an American, talked English all the time, and played all the music, all of our American music and everything. And knew all about everything, and she would always come on and say, what are you boys doing over here? Your wives are back there in the country running around with your 4F friends, and so she did have an awful sob story to tell everybody. So she tried to make you feel real bad. But you had Tokyo Rose. She was out of Tokyo, and you had Axis Sal out of Germany. They just tried to demoralize us by telling us what a futile effort it was for us to be over there. Played American music and tried to make you feel homesick. On our bomb runs, if, like I said, we had the bombardier, the bomb sight was in the leading plane, well, he would line up onto the bomb run. If you want to follow through, when you had, as you reached your target, the first thing you had was a point way out from that target, that once you got to that point, you lined up then onto the target and had to fly a straight and level flight regardless. Well, now that's when the anti-aircraft fire from the ground, we call it flak, they would then set up a barrage of shells in servos of 4. And when they exploded in the sky, they would either be below you or on you, or if they miscalculated, they might go on up and explode above you, but it left a black cloud of smoke. Once you turned and got onto your bomb run, the pilot could not change course, couldn't go up or down or right or left. The bombardier now, he takes over the flight of the airplane through the bomb sight, and he lines up the target. The flak's going off all around you, and of course that's when the Germans start knocking you down, because you can't change your direction of flight, and they know that, so they just send up a barrage, and you fly through it. If you come out the other side, okay. But in the meantime, the bombardier has taken over the flight of the airplane, lined up the target. The target might be an oil refinery, it might be a railroad station, could be a ball bearing factory. The purpose of the thing that the Air Force was doing was knocking his capability of producing. And that's what sort of beat Hitler, I think, is we pounded everything that moved down there. Troops, trains, factories, cities. See, we weren't always in frontline support. We were over Berlin. We were over his factories. And he couldn't manufacture anything. Without ball bearings, you're not going to get anything to run. But once you was on that bomb run, like I say, you couldn't change. The bombardier would then line up his sights and everything that he's supposed to do, and at the proper moment drop the bombs, and everybody else dropped theirs. You immediately would bank away, change altitude, change directions, so that you get out of that flak as soon as you could. And that's once you dropped your bombs, and you could change, you could swing right, left, up, down, and the whole group would do that together. So the lead plane, they flowed in formation. So that was the most dangerous time in the airplane, because the fighter planes, by that time, they weren't coming up after us. You could see them sitting on the ground, but they didn't have oil and fuel to fly them. And so by the time I got over there, they weren't coming up. And after you once dropped your bomb, turned and head for home, our fighter planes would then come in and protect us. If any Germans were around, they would chase off the fighter planes and you then sit back and relax and listen to the radio, listen to Access Sound, play music, talk to you. And if one of you did get knocked down, by the time that you'd get back to your base, she'd tell you who it was and how many guys that they shot down. After we'd leave the target and start back, why, we'd have maybe 2 or 3 hours in the plane, and we would be flying at maybe 20 to 30,000 feet, which is quite cold, to entertain ourselves, listening to the radio. But we still had to watch out. We still in formation. You know, you still had to watch out for other airplanes and so forth. And once we would get back to where we would start descending, and we had oxygen mask on, why, we would test the air oxygen by lighting a match. If the match burnt, we'd take our mask off. We knew we had enough oxygen that we could take the mask off. If it would just smolder or wouldn't flare up, well, we're still too thin of oxygen in the air. But imagine we're flying an airplane that has got gasoline leaks all over the daggone thing. You can smell it when you get within 5 miles of them. So we're sitting in there lighting matches so we could take our mask off, because we'd had them on maybe for 6 hours. And you was tired of sitting there sniffing oxygen. Ken wanted to do this interview with me, and I'm pleased. I'm proud of him, and I think that I would have never done it without him or any of our members of our family. And his mother, I imagine, thought a lot about this. But I want to thank him. I want to thank him to the bottom of my heart for doing this.
Hello, my name is Kenneth Witzman. I'm the grandson of Mr. Kenneth Haines, and we're here today to talk about his military service in World War II. And in front of us we have some of his medals and awards that he has won, and we're going to talk a little bit about what they are. I don't know if you want to...
We'll start up here at the top. These are the wings that you get when you are an air crew or a gunner, and you're allowed to wear them as to signify that that's you were. And of course, this is our shoulder telling you the rank, which is a sergeant that I was when I came out of the service. These ribbons was the only 3 that I was able to accumulate, but this is an air medal for flying missions. And the more missions and the more daring you get, the more stars and oak leaves that you put on them. And you win those by maybe doing something a little out of the ordinary, such as flying night missions into enemy territory, and you by either reconnaissance missions or checking what they did the day before, or even dropping pamphlets telling them that you was going to bomb them the next day with propaganda papers and delayed action bombs. This is the one that everybody's proud of. That's the Good Conduct Medal for being a good soldier and staying out of trouble, I guess.
Well, we actually have your citation here from for your air medal. And it says the 15th Army Air Force in Italy. Corporal Kenneth R. Haines, 19, son of Mr. and Mrs. Fred Haines of Xenia, Ohio, has been awarded the Air Medal for Meritorious Achievement in Aerial Flight. As tail turret gunner in a 15th Air Force Liberator bomber, Corporal Haines has flown on numerous for the excellence of its bombings on a mission of oil refineries in Vienna, Austria.
That's taken out of the waist window of an airplane that's to other airplanes in the sky.
Mm-hmm. are you in this one? Do you know? Do you remember?
Second from the left over here, I believe.
Right there, kneeling.
Yeah, I think it is. I think that's the one